As we get ready to kick off the Planning Commission meeting for today, obviously February 12th of 2025, first off, thank you for attending tonight's meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to state that the Planning Commission meetings are open to the public in person and via Microsoft Teams streaming application. All Planning Commission meeting information can be found on the Town of Monuments website. The Planning Commission's role is to conduct public hearings and to make recommendation for the Town Council regarding land use matters in the Town of Monument. Each commissioner agrees to a non-partial, objective, and fair review, which includes no prejudgment of a project or projects. Should a commissioner wish to disqualify him or herself for any conflicts of personal or financial interest in this matter before us tonight, please say so now. Perfect. For those attending tonight who wish to provide comment on agenda items, you may speak to the commission during the public comment section of the agenda. Those who attend in person will be called upon first and asked to come to the podium, sign in with your name and address. Those attending via Microsoft Teams will be called upon next and are asked to utilize the raise your hand option and unmute your microphone when called upon. We ask that if multiple people have the same comment, only one person speak on that same subject. Again, thank you for attending. We will now begin the meeting with roll call.
Thank you. Chair Trujillo.
Here.
Vice Chair Smith.
Present.
Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Egley.
Here.
Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Hours.
Here.
Commissioner Hatch.
Here.
Thank you. That concludes roll call.
Perfect. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to At this time for the commission, if we can get approval of minutes and a second, please.
I have a quick change,
Yes, ma'am.
please. Towards the end, it said that I was concerned about how our concerns were being written in the minutes when we have a split vote. I'm not so concerned about what I see in the minutes. My concern was I didn't think it was being transferred to the council very clearly. So I like the minutes are fine. It's how it's being read by the council.
Thank you, Commissioner Green.
We could get a motion to approve the minutes,
I move we approve the minutes.
and I second.
Thank you. Chair Trujillo.
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Egley.
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hours.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 in favor, none approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Our first case is for this evening is case number 2024 TAC 014. And this will be Triview Promontory Point Water Tank Project. Now that one is till next session. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair. We're going to be working with the applicant to repost for public hearing during the March 12th meeting.
Perfect.
And so we will not be hearing that tonight.
Thank you, sir. And we'll go ahead and get that onto the docket for the March 1st aspect of the Planning Commission meeting. So our now second item is our second case is a request for approval of a sketch plan for Connexus Lot Number 2, a proposed residential subdivision and component of the Connexus PUD. Public hearing continues from January 8, 2025. This case has been noticed for a public hearing, and I open it with presentation from staff.
Thanks again, Mr. Chair. So similar to what we've done for previous sketch plans, I'm going to provide a brief introduction and then we'll go ahead and turn it over to the applicant to make a presentation and have a discussion with you. The applicant, Chelsea Green of Meritage Homes, has applied for approval by the Plan Commission of a sketch plan for Connexus Lot 2 as provided for in Chapter 18 Land Development Code, Article 2, Section 1802-240, which was attachment A in your report. Included with that report is the project narrative, sketch plan, concept utility exhibit, describing 158 lot, single family detached community being developed on Connexus Lot 2, which is a 22.9 acre property located between realigned Old Denver Road to the east and Santa Fe Regional Trail to the west. The approved preliminary PUD for Connexus allows up to 234 units at a density of 10 dwelling units per acre. But the proposed density of the sketch plan is at 6.9. Please note, and this is very important, that the subject property is already governed by a set standards established in the 2022 preliminary PUD, a master final plat of a master final plat of Connexus and a master public improvement agreement for the entire development. We're not rehashing that conversation. Those are rights that are established through Plan Commission and Council in ordinance and resolution form. What we are doing tonight is having a conversation about the subdivision of the property and its design, so that as they go forward with their final plat and final PUD for that property, they have your guidance, and you've been informed a little bit more about the project ahead of time, so you can make an informed decision per code and per the previously approved agreements. I want to say very upfront also that I truly appreciate the developer for Connexus and for Meritage Homes for coming before you tonight and having this conversation and having this discussion with you. And at the end of the evening, I'm hoping that you have a recommendation to approve, or actually not a recommendation, that you approve the resolution approving the sketch plan so that they can move forward quickly and bring development of this property to fruition. That concludes my report, and we'll go ahead and turn it over to Andrea Barlow to make a presentation.
Welcome, Andrea.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for hearing this project. I do have a presentation, but the first part of the presentation is actually going to be by Chelsea Green with Meritage Homes to kind of explain a little bit about who they are and what they're looking at doing for this property.
Thank you for the introduction, Andrea, and good evening, Planning Commission. We appreciate your time this evening. If you could go to the next slide. So as Andrea stated, I just want to give you guys some background on who is Meritage Homes. Meritage Homes is a U.S. publicly traded home builder. We closed out 2023 and 2024 being the 5th largest home builder in the United States over numerous states, 11 in 2023 and 14 in 2024. Our headquarters is in Scottsdale, Arizona. We were founded in 1985. We have been in the Colorado market since 2005. We have just started to work our way down south starting in 2020. Meritage Homes is an entry-level home builder. That is our strategy. So that is why what you'll see put before you is we are really trying to target that entry-level or move down type of product in this subdivision proposal. On this slide, you'll kind of see where we are currently at in that Colorado Springs, or South Colorado as we call it back in Denver, locations. We currently have 21 active communities that ranges from all the way up in Severance, Colorado, down to Lorison Ranch down in Colorado Springs. Depending on the market and what the market research states is needed for the market, we construct 2-story townhomes, 3-story townhomes, duplexes, or single-family detached that span from 25 feet to 50 feet. Next slide, please. Specifically for Meritage Home Lot 2 in your Connexus development, we have conducted obviously a lot of market research and would be excited to bring entry-level detached or move down buyer product. That is that 25-foot front-loaded product. So it lives similar, right, to a rear-loaded duplex product. However, this design and subdivision gives those buyers a rear yard and a privacy in that rear yard and outdoor space, as well as that indoor space, and obviously not attached to another unit. Now, that product footprint is about 1,500 square feet to 1,900 square feet, depending on that floor plan. Pricings would be in the high 400s to low 500,000s on basements. So there would be additional space in the basements that is not representative in that 1,500 to 1,900 square foot. Obviously, we have had lots of conversations with TriView and the main developer at what this Lot 2 design would look like, water usage, making sure we're using drought tolerant plant material, restricting the amount of turf that can be in rear yards, etc. Meritage Homes prides themselves and has a lot of awards on all of our efficiency, energy, home building, clean energy, etc. So that is always one of our core focuses as well. Exterior and street lighting would also be dark sky compliant. That's always a big question for us. So I decided to just put it up there on that slide for you. You can go to the next slide, I believe. So a little overview of the community outreach we have done to date. We held a meeting with the Save Monument Group representatives on December 18th and reviewed this Lot 2 plan with them. We received feedback from that Save Monument Group, as well as the December 19th neighborhood meeting. There was 15 people in attendance, and we had a good, robust conversation with folks, and again, had Save Monument representatives there that were in support of this project. Questions obviously centered around how the realignment of Old Denver Road will function, and specifically the new intersections and the diversions of traffic away from the neighborhood. So that was kind of the main topics that we discussed as it relates to the impact of those surrounding neighborhoods. And then I believe with that, I'll pass it back over to Andrea to finish out the presentation, and then I'm available to answer any questions or have a discussion with y'all.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. Next slide. So to provide the context of the sketch plan, as Dan mentioned, we already have an approved preliminary PUD plan. That PUD plan has 2 pages full of standards, allowed uses, landscaping standards, architectural standards, and so on that will guide this development. That was approved previously by the Board of Trustees, as it was then, and by the Planning Commission. The configuration you may be familiar with the different types of uses, some industrial use, some commercial use, some multifamily use, and with the Lot 2, which is the area in yellow, the long kind of skinny area, being our medium density residential, which was identified as having potential for 6 to 10 units per acre. As you can also see from this plan, the realignment of Old Denver Road was envisioned with this preliminary plan, and that was how it was approved. And to Chelsea's point, that a lot of discussion at the neighborhood meeting is how's that really going to work, and how are the intersections going to work? So we had some discussion on that as well. So the Lot 2 area is what we're talking about. That has been approved for the density range of 6 to 10 units per acre. And that medium density included the option of doing attached product as well as single family detached, which is what we're talking about today. Next slide. So just to highlight, there was a land use chart that was on the cover sheet of the preliminary PUD plan, and that identified 23.1 acres. That acreage at that time was approximate. It has since been platted and is actually a little bit smaller than that. But that was identified within that range of having potential for up to 232 units, with a maximum height at that point proposed of 50 feet. Next slide. So to give it some context with the comprehensive plan, the Connexus area is identified as primarily the business campus use with some parks and recreation areas along the trails. That has all been, in terms of the approved preliminary plan, compliance was found with the comprehensive plan, and those park and recreation areas were included around the the creek corridors, and that northern portion was actually dedicated to the town for park purposes. So the consistency with the comprehensive plan was established with the preliminary PUD plan. Next slide. And the next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the actual plan we're proposing for development. So as I mentioned, it's a long, skinny site. There are a number of potential access points based on the accesses that have been approved on the east side of Old Denver Road. We are going to be utilizing 3 of them. So one on the south end, one on the north end, and then one kind of not quite halfway closer to the north portion of the property. So we have 3 access points, and then connecting the 3 access points into the site, there is an internal public street proposed, which will then in turn provide access to some thinner, skinnier, should I say, alleys, which are intended to provide individual lot access to the front of the properties on those streets. Those streets will not allow parking. The main street through the development will allow for parking, and there are also some parking areas identified on within the property for guests. Each of the units will have 2-car garages and driveways, so that when I say the streets don't allow parking, that's just for guest parking. Really, the lots will be self-parked with the driveways and the garages. So the total site area as platted is 22.9 acres. We have 158 lots which are being proposed, and with that allowed density of 6 to 10 units per acre, we're on the lower end of that at 6.89 units per acre. And you can also see from this that there are some areas of green space proposed within the development. Next slide. So just to show you the elevations. So these are example elevations there. I may have to just double check with Chelsea the height. Is about
30 feet is the height of them. I think what we're proposing is a max of 35, depending on elevation, top of foundation. And Andrea said these are samples of only 3 products. We typically will build at least 5 plans and have 3 to 5 elevations. So you will see more variation than this out in that neighborhood. This is just the pretty colored renderings we have available today.
And to clarify again, the allowed height within the PUD is 50 feet for this area, but we're in at more around that 30 to 35 feet height. Next slide. And we did a little density comparison with the surrounding area. So on the west side of the property, you have a mixture of areas that were developed at different times under different subdivisions with a variety of densities. And then on the east side of Old Denver Road, you obviously are moving into a higher density allowed high multifamily development, so up to 21, just short of 21 units per acre allowed, with industrial uses. You've got the Lost Island going in there. There's also proposed commercial. So this is slightly higher density than the development that's existing to the west, but it is providing that transition to the development, more intense development to the east. So in that context, it was really that's how the preliminary plan was designed, that this lot 2 would provide that transition and buffer between the existing single family neighborhood, realigning Old Denver Road in the process and having the more intense uses on the east side. Next slide. And here is just a cross section of the streets. So these are based on the city's engineering criteria. So we have a local type 1 street, which is going to be the main spine street running through the development, which provides for a wider asphalt mat, and then allows for parking on both sides. And then on those smaller alleys, which are just serving, I think at the most 3 lots, they will be a narrower alley per the residential alley cross section that's allowed in the code, and no parking will be allowed on those. Next slide. I think that's, sketch plan review criteria. There are specific criteria in the sketch plan. There aren't as many as for some of the other plans that you have to consider, but one of them is conforming with the town's comprehensive plan, which this does based on the preliminary PUD plan having been approved in the context of that business campus designation and the parks and recreation designation. Is it harmonious development and lot pattern with the neighborhood and community? I think I explained that with the density comparison, saying how it provides that buffer and transition between the existing single family neighborhood and the more intense uses proposed in the rest of Connexus. Is there enough adequate light and parks and open space and other spaces for public use? We are providing setbacks which will be consistent with the preliminary PUD plan, but also fairly standard for this type of product, which provides private open space. Within the development itself, we're going to have pockets of open space which will serve as amenities for the residents. And then I think, as I mentioned, as I was describing the overall Connexus development, there are some larger areas that have been designated for parks. And then is it providing adequate access? So we do have, as I mentioned, 3 points
Pretty
of
good.
access.
Just kind of tuned into a planning commission meeting real quick.
Welcome. Oh, hey, Jim. So the 3 points of access of Old Denver Road I pointed out earlier, and that internal connecting street to provide access to all the lots with the alleys. And then are the public improvements proposed adequate? Obviously, the majority of the public improvements have already been accommodated within the larger Connexus development, and there is a public improvement agreement which secures those. It includes a stormwater detention pond on in track B of Connexus on the east side of Old Denver Road, and then obviously the realignment of Old Denver Road itself and all the utility improvements that go along with that. And I think with that, next slide, I'm happy to answer your questions. No, I'm not there yet. Next steps. So obviously, hopefully with approval of this sketch plan, we will be working on submitting our final PUD and final plat. We'll be kicking off that immediately after this meeting, and probably getting there in a couple of months, probably pushing us into actually Q2 of 2025. And then the regional wet utilities, which is really the larger scale utilities with the Connexus development, will begin, and then we'll be looking for approvals of those, and then all the horizontal improvements will be completed by towards the end of 2026, with the first home closing in 2027 and last home construction in 2029. That's a question we often get, is how long is the construction process? It doesn't happen overnight, and so I think having that timeline is probably helpful for your consideration. Next slide. Now we're there. We're happy to answer any questions.
All right, at this time, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and open it up to public comment. We will get those individuals that was to express a comment in the room here first. Once we close that out, we'll offer it up for those that are online, Ray. And then we'll go ahead and close public comment. And then we can go ahead and move to commissioner questions and comments. So here, anybody in the actual room would like to make a comment? I see no hands. Ray, I defer to you for 1 minute for online comments.
At this time, if anyone online would like
1
to
minute is
participate,
a great job.
if anyone would like to participate, please raise your hand.
Right, public comment complete. We have no rebuttal, obviously, at this point. We're going to go ahead and close public hearing at this point. We're going to go ahead and open it up to commissioner questions and comment. With that, Commissioner Green.
Just a real quick question. The right of way of the Santa Fe Trail, does that remain the same?
So if you could pull up the plan. So the Santa Fe Trail will remain alongside the existing Old Denver Road. So you can kind of see it just so it's just on the west side of this development. So between the development and you can see it going through the development and the existing residential to the west. So it stays in the same location. There are two now new crossings of the realigned Old Denver Road for the Santa Fe Trail. They have been discussed and approved by El Paso County, who are the owners of the Santa Fe Trail. And so that crossing configuration with appropriate signage and what have you has been approved by the county Parks Department.
During your construction, do you expect that to be improved?
The Santa Fe Trail, the actual surface of it, no, that's outside of our control. So that's obviously the crossing points on the road will be new, but insofar as it then connects to the existing trail, that's under the control of El Paso County. And I know I've biked it, it's a little rough.
Thank you. Andrea, can you, or Chelsea, can you tell me what the width and length of the driveways that each of the residents will be?
Yeah, they will be at least 20 feet wide because that's what our garage door width is as well. And I believe the setback is 18 or 20 feet, 20 feet. So
Yeah, I've always had a concern with driveways that are only 20 feet in length. A full-size pickup is 20 feet, and that's bumper to bumper. And so if they're snugged up against the door, then you have a portion of the truck that extends into the sidewalk. So that's obviously a concern of mine. Street parking, you say that it'll only be allowed on the main street there, is that correct?
correct, on the 50-foot right of way.
And it was hard to see, but it looked like there's 45 other spaces throughout the development for public parking. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is that at either end, kind of the south and the north
In
end,
the
or?
middle there where you see that easement, the two kind of green tracks right in the middle, and
Oh.
on each end, there's stall parking in all of those locations.
Okay, gotcha. All right. And then the same point that Commissioner Green had. I see that there was an agreement with El Paso County for 6 access points for the entire development from Baptist Road North. Is that correct, over Santa Fe Trail?
Yes, so the backstory to that is the owner who owned the entire property from Baptist Road all the way up to, not quite to Second Street, there is one parcel next to Second Street, but they had an agreement with El Paso County in exchange for giving land for the Baptist Road trailhead at the south end for 6 points of access over the Santa Fe Trail. So 2 of those have been committed to the Santa Fe Park development, which is on the south portion. 1 was taken up with the Connexus Phase 1, which is in the middle, kind of where the church is now. And then the remaining 3 were available to this property.
All right, thank you.
Do we know what the exterior materials will be that will be used on this property, or is it going to be an option for the buyer?
So Meritage Homes is a production builder only. We guarantee a home closing within 60 days of putting you under contract. So it will all be pre-planned, and those details, obviously, of the architectural elevations will be spelled out in that final PUD.
Okay. All right. And my next question for the same thing is, I did a quick Google search on you and Better Business Bureau, and I see that you've got a few concerns about prompt warranty service. Is that something that I know this is not a part of that, but it's my community, and I want a builder that takes care of their buyers. So is that something that you're addressing?
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak a little bit to that. We actually have one of the higher rankings on the Better Business Bureau for the public builders, those top 5. How builders, I call it a report card. It's an AVID score, and that's a survey that buyers take the day of closing. How did they work with construction management? How did they work with their escrow coordinator, their sales counselor? And then we do a survey 365 days after they have lived in that home. Our end of year survey has increased significantly in the last 4 years that I've worked at Meritage Homes, and it is a corporate focus to get that above a 93% in 2025. So yes, I can assure you as a corporation, they have initiatives and efforts. And then at our Colorado division level, the director of warranties name is Dan Drehos, and he's been with Colorado for about 12 years. And I'm biased, but I think he's one of the best in the business for Colorado and those warranty matters. So a lot of those issues are disagreements that then get reported.
And the final question is the 45 car spaces or parking spaces. Is that something, I fear that that's not enough with 156 or 58 units. Can someone address that? Where did we get that number from?
So there is no requirement in the code, and our PUD standards defer to the code on parking. So as I indicated, each home will have a 2-car garage and a 2-car driveway. So that meets the parking requirement for the single family detached unit. The 45 parking spaces are there primarily for guests. So there is on-street parking. As you can see, the on-street parking is available on both sides of the street, but I think in reality, the parking will be primarily on the side of the street where the units kind of side up to it, rather than where they front onto it, because the driveways will probably limit, depending on where they're positioned, will limit the ability to park between driveways in some areas. So, but there's a fairly substantial area where people can park freely on the street, and together with the additional 45 spaces, that should provide sufficient for guest parking. But the anticipation is that people will park on their own lot, and that is meeting the town standard.
Commissioner Hours. Will this have a HOA?
Yeah, so right now the agreement we have worked out with the developer is we would actually be taking on your Connexus overall master plan has Metropolitan District number 1 and number 2. District number 1 is all your commercial industrial sites, and district number 2 will be only residential in that lot too. So Meritage Homes will actually, I will be getting on that Metro District number 2 board once we close on this property, and be facilitating all of the operation and maintenance and covenant enforcement through that district number 2 board, and working to get property owners on that board.
So Commissioner Igley's concern about pickup trucks. Can you make a requirement that pickup trucks have to be parked in the garage, not in the driveway? Because, and here's the reason I say that. Pickup trucks are 20 feet long, and then they have a hitch on them. And, you know, I've lived in Monument for quite a while now, and we got a lot of people that love dogs. And you know what they like to do? They like to walk dogs. And they're either going to walk them down the sidewalk or they're going to walk them down the roadway. So the HOA can handle that problem with regard to pickup trucks, right?
Covenants recorded on the property that would be enforced through an HOA or Metro District could address structures like that. And there is also opportunity a lot of times, right? That why I gave you that 20-foot long driveway is because that's what the minimum front setback is. But that would be applicable to our porches, and we have plans that the garage is then recessed further from that porch. So I think there is a variation of solutions to address that concern.
Okay, good. And the other question I have is, when it's going to come to us again, but as a final PUD, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And in that, we'll get a lot more detail about what's going on. And I think this is going to be a great community. Okay. So don't have any problem with the community. All right. But I do want to make this statement, having been down this road before. When I say that I'm going to approve the project sketch plan, when it comes to us as a PUD final, part of a final PUD is it has to meet the requirements of a preliminary PUD, which means in fact that this commission can say, well, that's not what we thought we were getting here. Okay. And we can recommend changes. And I don't want to hear somebody say, well, commissioner ours improved the project and you got to eat it like it is. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm just trying to say that what you presented today sounds good. I think it'd be great, but when it comes to the final PUD, please make sure you design it so it meets some very reasonable standards. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Good evening, ladies. Thank you for a great presentation. Just a couple comments. Commissioner Egley kind of asked the questions I wanted to about the trail. Trail is very important to me. Full disclosure, I live right across the street. So, so my garage backs up to this development. I'm excited to see it happen. The trail is very important to us and all those neighborhoods over there, Village of Monument, Santa Fe Trails, Peakview Ridge, a lot of people walk over there. So protecting that trail and having our access maintained is very important. Traffic on the new Old Denver Road, is there anything, and it is probably for you, Andrea, are we addressing like semis and stuff coming down the road? Because I know having, living there, I see, especially when we have snow events, we get a lot of semi traffic coming that way, trying to avoid the bridge over on Baptist Road. So I'm a little bit concerned with that. And I don't know that it's specifically on your project or if it's something that we can work with, the town and the county to maybe limit the semi traffic on Old Denver Road, especially once it gets, relocated like that.
Well, the anticipation is that the traffic that's on the existing Old Denver Road will transfer to the new
Yes.
road, and that includes semi trucks today. So yes, though I'm quite sure there will continue to be semi trucks, but the whole purpose of moving the road to the east was to move that traffic away from the neighborhood. So the existing Old Denver Road will then become a local road just servicing that development. So there will be now a significant buffer between Old Denver Road, the new Old Denver Road alignment and the neighborhood. But you started your comment by referencing the trail. So I'm going to talk about the trail crossing. So they, like I say, they've been approved, but there will be stop signs at those intersections to allow people to safely cross. So it's not like it's going to be a continual stream of traffic. There are going to be stop signs to allow the safe crossing.
So those will be three-way stops?
3, yeah.
Oh, wow. So that's great. So that's a great improvement
I think
over what we have now.
2.
Yeah.
Well, I probably need to go to the plan.
We'll bring that information back when we come back to you, because there's 3 crossing or 2
2 crossings and
I'm
the
not sure
trail.
if those are 3-way stops, but we can look into that. And
Yes,
yeah,
we've got a,
Okay.
we have a,
Eric, do you have an answer?
Oh,
Oh, Eric's.
there are 3-way stops on both sides. Okay,
Right, so
so
what-
if you go forward a couple of slides, that we've got some slides showing we have extra slides just for this
Oh,
type
slides.
of question.
oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So as you can see, that shows where the stop signs are, and the crossing across Old Denver Road indicates where the trail crossing is. So we have stop signs from the existing Old Denver Road connection there, and then a stop sign coming from the east in that case.
Thank you.
Okay. And it's a similar scenario at the other end as well. It's easier to show a picture than describe
Yeah,
it.
no, that's fantastic, because right now there's no formal crossings to get from any of those neighborhoods over to the Santa Fe Trail. You guys have been out there. There's a lot of.
Yeah.
use that trail.
And if you go to the next slide as well, it kind of shows it at the other end. It should do. There you go. So that's at the south end. So you've got the stop sign there and
Excellent, thank you.
okay, thank you. And there is also additional signage showing pedestrian crossing coming up and
I'm like, now we have nothing.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing. So that's a great improvement. I
Okay.
appreciate that. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Can you talk about timing? When we start talking about construction in relation to Old Denver Road, obviously the deterrence of those semis, worst case scenario, chain law goes into effect. Those semis are blacked up on I-25 going north. They're going to take Old Denver Highway to get on 105 to go up through Sedalia. That's normally the route they take. I'm making the assumption that that roadway will be able to handle that heavy traffic once it's improved going through there. My question is, one, with the mitigation of construction for that, what is the timeline and how is that going to impact those residents that live right across the street?
The timeline for the actual construction of the road or when it's
On
going
the
to
Old
start?
Denver Highway.
I might have to defer to you on that one, Eric. I'm going to pull somebody else up to answer that one.
Yeah, no.
Good evening, Commissioners. Name is Eric Checkle. I'm with Shuck Chapman. We're the Connexus property owner.
Yes, sir.
So the realigned New Old Denver Road. So the overall construction duration is about a year.
Okay.
We will start by building the main line of the New Old Denver Road. So there'll be no impact to the existing connections to existing Old Denver Road. And we're finished with the main line, then we'll tie in the connections at the north and south end.
Okay.
So the overall main line's probably about 9 months and the connections will take about 3 months or so.
Perfect. And we're scheduling that around summertime when it all goes together. Nothing is going to be impactful in relation to winter driving. And I say that simply because on the north side of this design, we have Dirty Creek, that hill seems to be a big problem. I mean, the Monument Police can tell you all about it. But I think that any road traffic that is in that area, I mean, if we can mitigate that to the best of our ability, that's going to be great. So we appreciate that consideration.
That's correct. Asphalt plants are open in the warmer months. So that's when we'll be doing that work.
Yes, sir. Perfect. Next question, go back to the slide that identified the location and the amount of units, please. I don't know what slide that was, Ray. Maybe 2 back. Perfect. Nope, too far back, Ray.
Just a layout, I think, in the question slide. There.
So in this depiction here, I'm looking at the green areas on this. The yellow represents those individual resident units. The green is what?
So it's going to be a combination of landscaped areas and then more kind of programmed amenity areas. So at the areas at either end, with the larger areas, so the areas at either end and the section in the middle, which goes through the easement,
Okay.
are going to be more programmed amenity areas. But the green area kind of around the perimeter is really just going to be landscaped area. And then we have provided, it's difficult to see at this scale, but some connections that will allow residents to connect to the Santa Fe Trail.
Okay. Here's my question. The plan obviously builds everything for the residents inside there. There's 200, the DAU, you were authorized up to 10 DAU per acre. You went down to 6.9. Definitely appreciate that. Obviously reduces density within that area. You heard this commissioners talk about dogs walking, things along that lines. The only concern about this is the amount of community parks and green space for those residents. I hear what you're saying, that the amenities are identified inside there, but again, what's within that acreage? I would ask for the consideration to allow for as much recreational property as possible in there, simply because knowing that this is zone 1 or is this zone 2, zone 1 will be to the south. 3 and 4 are obviously going to be commercial entities across the board. If we don't put them in now, we know realistically that they won't be put in later. And I say that from the cautionary aspect of 3 and 4 are going to be residential type properties, or not residential, commercial type properties. 1 has a potential to be multifamily housing. I understand that. My concern, though, is that if we don't identify that recreational space in perpetuity of expanding it, my recommendation would be expand it as much as possible. It's a good project, but it almost is constraining those residents in that neighborhood.
So a couple of things on that. So first of all, there will be, like I say, amenity space. There's probably, I don't want to speak too much from Meritage, but like a dog park and that type of thing within the development. The connections to the Santa Fe Trail are the key point in terms of your comment about people wanting to walk dogs. That's where they're going to go and walk the dogs. I mean, if you had the choice of cutting through onto the Santa Fe Trail versus walking through your neighborhood street, I think that would be the preferred option. So that relationship has always been key in terms of the residential component of the development. But Ray, if you could go back to the overall preliminary PUD slide. Oh, yeah. So the Tract E on the north end of Connexus has been dedicated to the town for a park. So that was the provision for the entire development of the park requirement for this development. So that is being met with the bigger project, with the overall project. So we're not only providing the parkland that's required per the PUD, but we're providing additional amenity areas within lot 2 for those residents, just as in lot 1 with a multifamily, they're likely to provide, if it's assuming
Sure.
it'll be apartments, they'll provide a clubhouse, pool, that type of thing. And then with this particular lot, we will have the connections to Santa Fe Trail. So this will meet a variety of recreation needs for the residents.
And what I just heard Merrimack, correct, the company? Meritage say is that they're building baseline homes for new buyers in the community, correct? I'm thinking multifamily housing, new families that are starting. They're not going to walk to a 24-acre park that has slopes and water retainment issues. I'm not saying that they're there, but there's a potential that they can be there. So I'm just trying to ask if we do put something like this in there. I think it's a great plan. I think it's something that we need in Colorado. But give the residents something more other than amenities. Give us a park. Give us something that not only those individuals can enjoy, but those individuals that are located next door, that they have the opportunity to go do so as well. I can't tell you what to do with you have the approval to do it. It's more so a request to make sure that we optimize it.
I would say that when we present the final PUD,
Yes.
we'll have a little bit more information about how we're programming those amenity areas to explain to you how they are actually going to function as small pocket parks for the neighbors. That when I talk about amenity space, that's really what I'm talking about. They can be small pocket parks instead of one combined park area.
What I see is a 9.3% on the Better Business Bureau, trying to make sure that we can make that happen by ensuring that these communities have what they need. That's a request from the Planning Commission. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
I will make a motion to approve by resolution 01/2025 of a sketch plan for Connexus Lot 2, a proposed residential subdivision and component of the Connexus PUD based upon the approval criteria listed in the Monument Land Development Code, Section 18, TAC 02, TAC 240, TAC C, submitted as attachment A in the staff report.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Chair Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Egley,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hours,
The project, I just want to make sure that everybody understands. Back to us, final PUD. You approved it up here. You heard. But it doesn't mean that we can't say this is not affecting. Changes, be approved. Sketch plan. Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Hatch.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 7 in favor, none opposed.
Perfect. Thank you, Ray. Our next case will be a request for approval of a sketch plan for Baja Terrazzo Commercial, supporting the modification of the existing Santa Fe Park PUD. This case has been noticed for public hearing, and with that, I defer back to staff for presentation.
Thank you very much. I will be leading this one for us. So the applicant, Thompson Thrift Commercial, has applied for approval by the Planning Commission of a sketch plan for Terrazzo Baja Commercial Development, also formerly known as a preliminary PUD for the Santa Fe Business Park, one and the same. The proposed sketch plan for Terrazzo Baja Commercial Development represents a conceptual outline for the forthcoming final plat. The applicant is presenting a new sketch plan alongside the approved preliminary planned unit development, Ordinance 10/2020, approved 7/20/2020. The included project narrative and sketch plan describe 9 lots to be developed as part of the Terrazzo Baja Commercial Development Project. 3 developments are known by the applicant, with the remaining 5 to be determined. Each development will be required to obtain final PUD approval by the Planning Commission and Town Council, confirming conformance with the approved preliminary PUD for the overall business park. At this time, I will pull up a presentation that the applicant has prepared for you.
Good evening, commissioners. Appreciate the time, appreciate Ray and Mr. Ungerleader to help us through this process and get us to this step. So appreciate everybody being here. But really, we're just showing up to bring everybody up to speed on what we've done so far, and kind of not much has changed since our preliminary approval. Next slide. Keep going. So really, we show here, as Ray mentioned, we have a couple of users in tow for this business park. Some of the other users that we can't announce yet, they sitting on the sidelines until we get started with Terrazzo. But we have TriView that's here tonight, and we heard earlier Jim's on the phone as well. So he's here listening in as well. And we also have Carl Malone Motorsports that's also part of this. Each one of those users will be coming in at a different time, different application. And they will have a different process to bring this before the board. But tonight we wanted to just kind of bring our project back up. Next slide. We do have a few sketches showing what will be coming in for TriView and for Carl Malone. Just give you a little bit of a taste of what they're doing. But again, they will be coming in with a separate process, separate submittal. Keep going. Here we have TriView. They're the ones that are very urgent to get in. They're calling me Jim calls me on almost a daily basis. But they want to get in here and get started as soon as possible. Next slide. You can keep going. Oh. And now we are Carl Malone, which I believe they're very close to submitting their plans as well, and they'll be coming in. As you can see, we have a couple of crossings going across Santa Fe Park. We've been working with the county on that. They're aware of our 2 crossings. They've given us comments on how to address those crossings and parking, et cetera, and how we transition with those crossings. So that will be part of our plans. The next stage is to come in with our plans, and that will detail out those and address those comments that the county has given us as well. That's pretty much it. We have Brian here as well. He can answer any questions with JR Engineering. But yeah, any questions, let us know.
Thank you, sir. All right. At this time, we're going to go ahead and open it up for public comments. If we have anyone in the room that would like to make a public comment, please do so now. And no one. Ray, online. Any hands up, please, sir? Going to give the standard minute. All right, Ray, thank you very much.
Mr.
Sir.
Mr. Chair, I just add, I want to thank the developer and the applicant for coming before you tonight for this sketch plan approval. As you're seeing that they're reducing the number of lots. There's a change on the cul-de-sac, which would have kicked this in. And then the primary thing that's coming, that's bringing this forward is the change of detention plans for the property, and that's noted in my report. I am not concerned in how we manage stormwater because we're going to make sure that it follows our stormwater requirements, and we will review each of the overall and then in the individual properties for stormwater management. But I wanted to make sure that it wouldn't take you by surprise as each started coming in with their own stormwater plans. So that was one of the main purposes to bring this before you tonight. So again, that you wouldn't be surprised and wonder why staff was doing something different without letting you know. So but this is really exciting. We have quite a few developments that have come in for pre-application for these lots. Andy kind of took you through that, and we're looking forward to bringing these through with for final plat and for final PUD, so that we can introduce some new businesses and new participants in our business community. And I can assure you, we will have the same level of detail when we come back in front of you with their final plans. So you'll be able to get into those details. But again, in a normal circumstance, and it was just they didn't make any changes to it. This would have come back to you as a final with their final plat and final PUDs for each lot. But because of the stormwater instance and actually in the cul-de-sac removal, I just wanted to make sure that you weren't going to be surprised, so that we can have positive, constructive conversations moving forward.
Thank you, sir. At this point, public comment is now closed. We're going to go ahead and open it up for commissioner questions and comments. With that, Commissioner Green.
Thank you. This is the sketch plat for the plat. So what we need in the future will be a final subdivision plat and a final PUD. I'm just
that is correct. So there's going to be a change because of the original preliminary PUD had smaller and more lots. So they're going to be changing the configuration of those lots during the final process, as well as they're going to have individual developments for each of the sites. So as I said, you're going to get more detail and then assurances through final stormwater, final traffic analysis, and so on, that the developments meeting the intent of the original PUD for Santa Fe Park.
And this is the property that's zoned for business campus? Or is it
I believe so, yes. Yes.
And so what I'm curious about, when you are subdividing these large lots, what are you doing to connect them into a campus-like setting?
For now, it's tough to say exactly what that's going to be in until we get users in. Each user is going to have a little bit different setup, different use, and how they interact with each other. For example, TriView and Carl Malone Motorsports right now. But so it's tough to say, but that will be part of the process that each user comes in, and they'll go through each of their lot design and their process, and they'll bring their plans together.
So the plan is to have some kind of visual connection between them, not for it to be 5 just separate.
Yeah, we will have some kind of design guidelines to kind of bring it all together. I mean, obviously we want to give each user their opportunity to brand their stores, and Carl Malone's going to have a very different use and requirements along the freeway and what they want versus TriView, but we will try to bring it all together, and we've been working with them on that.
What's the motorsports?
Carl Malone, he's the mailman. He delivers. I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of a man.
I think he just answered me.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Thank you. Excuse me. Why detention ponds for each one of the lots and not one singular?
Commissioners. Brian Law with JR Engineering. Well, the simple answer is that's what the developer wants to do now. And it's, quite frankly, it's commonplace for commercial areas or even residential areas to provide their own detention. And so the other reason is because where the regional pond was placed before, of course, is in a prime real estate location. So they're just by choice, they're saying, let's do it this other way. And by all means, it's an okay way to do it for sure. So just to bring you up to speed, a final plat for the whole 60 acres has been submitted to the town, along with an overall a revised stormwater master plan and study, as well as a traffic study. So if you have any questions regarding traffic, we got a consultant here and also the architects for TriView. So again, the drainage is just the drainage master plan, and the way things are configured are really based on the developer wanting to do that. So,
Okay. All right,
okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
I had another question for, I'm sorry.
Andy,
Sorry. I can't really see it on the sketch plan here, but can you kind of give us some idea of the 9 lots? My printer didn't print it out very well. Maybe I just can't read it. So I just didn't know where lot 1 was, lot 2, lot 3. For example, I just wanted to see where TriView was going to go in, where I think I have an idea where Carl Malone Motorsports is going to go, Lux Lodge, that type of thing.
yeah, can you zoom in on that, Ray, at all? A little bit more. There you go. So
Okay.
TriView is the 2-acre site, right? Is lot 4. Can you see that okay? And then just south of that is Lux Locker, lot 3, I believe. And then across the street from Lux Locker on lot 8. Yeah, that would be the Carl Malone site.
Got it.
Okay. So I think it's also important to note that the developer, as highlighted there, will be constructing Terrazzo and Baja there, as well as La Campana to the south, and also making those connections to Old Denver Road to serve these 3 lots right away, as well as other storm drainage infrastructure, as we're showing in red there. The storm sewer will also be installed, in conjunction with these lots.
All right.
Okay.
And kind of leading into that is a question we had that the chairman posed in the last hearing. It was really based around timing of the construction of the principal
Right.
road running through there. If you can
Right.
give us some idea what that's going to be like.
The timing of that?
Yes.
Well, as quickly as we can get our construction plans into the town, which we're anticipating having that done over the next 30 to 60 days. And then, of course, we'll be needing to have this platted. So we're trying to time things up. So certainly we want to be constructing as fast as we can, right?
Yeah, I guess
So-
my question is, since right now you have 3 tenants identified
Mhm.
kind of in the center section, if you're really only going to construct a portion of the road to service them initially, and then continue the construction southward from there? Or will you do the entire?
The plan would be to construct all of it at one time
Okay.
and connect into Old Denver Road.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Adams, the only question I have with regard to the traffic and everything, we'll be able to address that issue when they come back in with a PUD, correct?
So, but yeah, we'll have a final traffic analysis that you'll be able to confirm that the site is what it was originally intended for and not having a greater impact than what it was originally intended for.
Commissioner Smith, just
Don't get him started.
no, nope, not pulling it, not pulling the cord. The other access road to the south, I can't read the name of it. I apologize. What was that?
La Campagna.
Calam?
La Campagna.
Is that road gonna be constructed at this?
Yes.
Is that gonna go all the way to Old Denver as well?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the plan.
And I just want to comment too, that I think the separate drainage ponds on each lot makes a lot more sense. There is no, Teach Out Creek, No Name Creek running over to Monument Creek in this area because there's a rise on the other side there. So to me, that makes sense to handle the water right there on each lot. That's the only comment I had.
Thank you, sir. Reduction in lots. Original PUD, you had 25 lots. You're taking it down to 9. For that, I thank you. I mean, you're probably one of the most easy to work with individuals to approve a project simply by coming into this town and saying, hey, guys, we get it. So thank you for that. The water mitigation associated with those ponds, thank you. Again, this whole area that we look at here in Colorado Springs, water mitigation is always going to be a factor, but by you doing that and letting people see some water, right, that makes it all worthwhile. The cul-de-sac, again, for taking that out of there, thank you. Simply because, again, it's going to be always a hindrance when those cul-de-sacs are lined up inside a commercial area such as this. The stormwater detention, we get it. With the ponds, I think that clearly mitigates that. My only question, if left unchanged, the mitigation of water, I think is going to be obviously a good thing. This is already pre-planned for multi-family housing. Is that correct?
This is business.
Completely agree with you. I know that. I just want to make sure that I'm saying this into the microphone.
You were testing us.
I've got it. I wrote it down, but I've learned to ask the question because you're absolutely right. It's a commercial product, and this commercial product, by coming in with only 9 PUDs or 9 individual lots instead of 25, thank you. And I say that graciously to both y'all because realistically, by not bringing in more housing, already it's somewhat getting congested in my opinion. But, I just want to say, yeah, the project as it lies right now, we look forward to y'all getting involved and definitely making Monument a better place. So thank you. At this point, we are going to close any questions or comments unless any commissioner has any. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting about you, Corey.
Yeah,
Please.
it's easy. It's easy online, no problem.
Yeah.
I think a couple questions. We're coming in with roadway first, right? And then we have individual ponds. So are some of these ponds going to get constructed while we construct the roadway in order to detain runoff from the road prior to parcel development? Is that how that's going to work?
Got confused who's talking and stuff there. And
Corey is one of the commissioners that's online. Yes, sir.
Yes. Is there going to be particular?
Farther in.
I can't hear anything. Is the microphone on?
No one's talking. You're fine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question for him?
So prior to individual parcel development, is one of these ponds going to address runoff from the roadway prior to parcel development?
Good question. And once I bring this little exhibit up, hopefully this will answer your question. What he's asking is, and what we're showing here, can you see it okay on your screens? Okay.
Or you can see the slide. Is that correct?
I can, yes, thank you.
Yep.
So, Commissioner Corey, we're showing here what is tributary to each pond. The land tributary, the watershed, if you will, to each pond. And to answer your question, yes, that we're showing off-site areas that will have to be treated through these ponds, including the streets. Can you see that okay?
I can, yes, thank you.
Right. So simply put, we are handling, we're not just in a vacuum there for each lot, just worrying about your own thing. If you have water coming onto your site, you have to have it run through your pond. And if it needs to be treated, we got to treat it. So each lot user will have this as a base plan to use in order to design their facility. So that's the whole goal here. So good question.
Yep, that makes sense. And from a traffic perspective, the farthest north lot, have we established that we don't need an additional access point for that? Dead end requirements and from a emergency access, that's all addressed with that shared access. No additional access to Old Denver Road is required for that far north area.
Now, yeah, what we're saying is that since we've reduced the number of lots from 26 to 9, that extension is really not necessary, and therefore to access the far north lot, a simple easement, access easement will be provided.
Okay, great. I think those were the only questions I had. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, sir. At this point, we're going to go ahead and close the comments for commissioners, and we are going to make a motion or request a motion to vote for the commissioners.
Okay, Commissioner Smith, I will make a motion to approve by resolution number 02-2025, the sketch plan for Baja Terrazzo Commercial, supporting the modification of the existing Santa Fe Park PUD based upon the approval criteria listed in the Monument Land Development Code, Section 18, Tech 02, Tech 240, Tech C, submitted as Attachment A in the staff report.
Second.
Thank you. Chair Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Egley,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hours,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ray. Next is going to be our third case, and our third case here. Third case is a request for approval for a final platted unit development for Monument Marketplace North, lot number 2, multi-tenant retail building located at 16577 Cinematic View. This case has been noticed for public hearing. With that, I defer to staff.
Thank you. One moment while I pull up the presentation. Thank you very much, commissioners. So as you're aware, this is a final PUD approval for Jackson Creek Road Retail located at 16577 Cinematic View.
Ray, is your mic on?
It is.
Okay. Are you speaking into it?
I believe so.
All right.
Maybe I'm not. Hopefully I am. Okay. Sorry about that. So this first slide is just to show that this meeting was noticed for public hearing and the applicant did reach the requirement for public hearing. So the applicant, Mr. Zach Van Dyke of New Era Construction, is seeking approval of the final plan use development for Lot 2 Monument Marketplace North, filing number 1A, for the construction and operation of 2 restaurants, Dairy Queen and Subway, with additional retail space between them. As proposed, Dairy Queen is the sole restaurant with a drive-through. Included attachments with your staff report were the aerial location and future land use maps, the public hearing notices, final plan use development site plan, final drainage reports, updated traffic impact studies, a staff revised parking lot, and a staff revised landscaping area, as well as our draft finding of fact. So the criteria for standards for the final plan unit development, the proposed use meets the intent of the comprehensive plan. The final plan unit development is consistent with the approved preliminary plan unit development as well. On-site circulation and access are designed for the anticipated type of pedestrian and vehicular traffic generated by the restaurant and drive-through. Building design in terms of orientation, spacing, materials, exterior color and texture, storage and lighting result in quality architectural design is compatible with the existing and anticipated area with commercial developments. The landscaping is a quality design that enhances the site and is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood as shown by the amount, types, and materials used. Adequate off-street parking, both standard and ADA accessible, is provided. And the final plan unit development fits within the context of the planned land use pattern and roadway and utility systems of the larger surrounding area. So more background information. Applicant is New Era Construction, property owner, location, and the request is for the approval of the final PUD. And here's a location in reference. The surrounding zoning. To the north, vacant PUD space. South is the KFC Monument Marketplace North PUD. To the east is the Jackson Creek Self-Storage PUD. And to the west is more vacant mixed-use PUD. Some general history. The subject property was originally platted as part of the Monument Marketplace North, filing number 1 on November 19th, 2007. On July 1st, 2019, Town Council, formerly known as the Board of Trustees, adopted ordinance number 24, 2019, granting approval of a zoning change, preliminary planning development, and final plat of subdivision for Monument Marketplace North, filing number 1. Each parcel within the Monument Marketplace North filing 1 is required to obtain final PUD approval prior to the issuance of a land development and building permits. As you can see in front of you, we have some elevations that the applicant has provided for their PUD. We have their proposed site plan, as well as some project information and data for you. We also included their landscape plan. So staff had some recommendations for proposed revisions. The first on the left-hand side here is a no parking area reserved for a turnaround should be included, of course, and that the pedestrian crossing located in the parking lot shall be reduced in width to create more adequate space for that no parking area / turnaround. And to the right, you can see a markup over the proposed landscape plan. Staff noticed that the proposed area for landscaping, some of the proposed area for landscaping is located within the public right-of-way, and we would require the applicant to revise plant materials per the town's park and landscaping standards to locate it out of the public right-of-way. Just to go over the review criteria, the comp plan, the subject property is designated mixed use by the town's comp plan adopted 2017. This designation provides for a mixture of non-residential and residential development, professional offices, personal services, convenience, retail, and restaurants, and connections by sidewalks and trails. The proposed development meets the intents of this designation. The development code, based on staff's analysis and input provided by the town's development review team and partners, the proposed project is consistent with all applicable development standards and adequately addresses all criteria. Stormwater management, the applicant provided a final drainage report for the project. The report prepared by Terra Nova Engineering was updated November 1st, 2024, and concluded that the stormwater drainage improvements will provide adequate protection to this site without adverse impacts on the adjoining upstream or downstream properties, and are in compliance with the final drainage report for Monument Marketplace North, filing number 1. Staff is in agreement with this statement. Similar with the traffic analysis report updated October 1st, 2024. No adverse impacts are expected to be proposed with this development. Staff's proposed finding of fact. The proposed use meets the intent of the comprehensive plan designation for the property. The final plan unit development is consistent with the approved preliminary PUD. On-site circulation and access are designed for the anticipated type of pedestrian and vehicular traffic generated by the restaurant and drive-through. Building design in terms of orientation, spacing, materials, exterior color and texture, storage, and lighting result in quality architecture design is compatible with the existing and anticipated area commercial developments located within the Marketplace North. Landscaping is a quality design that enhances the site and is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, as shown by amount, types, and materials used. Of course, staff's recommendation is on top of that. Adequate off-street parking, both standard and ADA accessibility, is provided. And lastly, the final PUD development fits within the context of the planned land use pattern and roadway and utility systems of the larger surrounding area. Our recommended action is a motion to make a recommendation to approve the final planned unit development for Jackson Creek Retail, legally described as Lot 2, Monument Marketplace North, filing number 1A, and located at 16577 Cinematic View, with the following conditions. 1, prior to town council review, the applicant shall submit a revised plan set to address the issues identified in attachments 4 and 5, those being staff recommendations for correction, as supported by the attached finding of fact and described by the following documents, those being the final plan unit development site plan, the final drainage report, and updated traffic impact study. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this point, did the applicant have any comments or any briefs that they'd like to do?
I do not at this time.
Okay, great. At this point, we're going to go ahead and open it up for public comment. And anybody in the room? None. Ray, give us the magic minute.
No one's raising their hand at this point,
Thank
so
you
we're
very
good.
much, sir. We'll go ahead and close public comment at this point. At this point, we're going to go ahead and open it up for commissioner questions and comments. With that, Commissioner Green.
Would you go back to the elevations slide, please? And
I just want to remind you that if you do need to move closer, you can zoom into the screen on your monitor.
I was doing that. I don't know why. I'm used to leaning over on my own computer.
Makes it any better.
So no, this is good. So the east elevation is what we're seeing from Jackson Creek Parkway, correct?
That is correct.
And which one is the drive-through? Dairy Queen?
Okay.
Dairy.
So, yeah, so the restaurant to the left on this image would be Dairy Queen, and the drive-through actually enters from the right side of the building, and then goes behind the building. You would see.
Thank you. I like this alignment better than what I've been seeing. And if Subway's on the other end?
Yes, that's correct.
So I don't think Subways even have drive-throughs, do they?
They do not.
They don't? Okay. All right, thank you.
Just a couple questions about the private road, cinematic view. I know you don't have control over that, but I just wanted to, again, express my concerns of adequate lighting, snow removal, maintenance of that particular private roadway. We have what's going to be several retail tenants in that area. And so that's my main concern. The second is that we don't have any sidewalk access on cinematic view for anyone coming from the apartment complex to the west, or even coming from the other shopping center to the south. So that's just I just wanted to make that note of that concern. And then really the other thing, you already brought it up, is that you were going to require a new site plan for the landscaping. I noticed that one of the questions I had, I just didn't want to have, excuse me, large trees or bushes at that corner of Jackson Creek Parkway where customers are pulling in, so that we have a good sight line coming out. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Sure. The package that we received indicated you hadn't received all the information that you needed in regard to some of the elements in the design. Have you received all that?
No, we've received everything we're supposed to here, but what we're asking for them to do is revise the site plan and the landscape plan before it goes to town council for final approval. They've already been notified that, and we're working with them on that. So that way they'll have a complete revised package or plan set for town council to consider when they're approving ordinances and so on. Yes.
I want to hitchhike on Commissioner Egley. What's going to be done? I think you may have addressed this for the same question. How are we going to get so pedestrians from these can get safely in?
Well, Commissioner Hours and then Commissioner Egley, we have talked about this before, and so this road is a private road. It's maintained by TriView. No, not TriView.
So the road to the north, that is, but then this becomes private.
That's right. Cinematic View is private. And this kind of goes into a lesson in when you're approving developments like this, that you want to consider sidewalks. And there might have been conversations about that before too. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that there is a sidewalk provided east-west at the north end of this property. The Jackson Creek Parkway sidewalk, every restaurant there and business that's been going in has an ADA accessible ramp that allows people who are on Jackson Creek Parkway to walk down into the site safely. I would suspect that as we're working on the west side, we'll ask the questions about that development, how pedestrians can safely get from one place to the other, and as other areas develop. It's noted. We're going to have a lot of those conversations during the comprehensive plan as we're moving forward. But this development here is consistent with what we've approved on the other remaining lots.
The mic turned itself on.
Yeah, man, I'm
Okay.
not judging you.
Yeah. So as soon as I saw this project, I knew that Commissioner Green was going to be happy because it's facing Jackson Creek Parkway. And this one, just to be clear, because I don't see it on this current depiction here, there is sidewalk access from Jackson Creek Parkway?
Yes, there is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And what's the anticipated opening date for the Dairy Queen?
Well, we're hoping as soon as possible, but the hope is right now, if we can get final approval in March, is sometime end of October.
I was hoping before summer. So
We all were.
Well, the mayor and I tend to late at night during the summer give each other a call, and I'm driving down to the Springs to get soft serve. So this is going to be an added benefit. So we are. That's all I had. Thank you.
With this, my only concern, looking at this, the north end has the drive-through. That's for Dairy Queen, my understanding. Obviously, we're talking about the roadways or the sidewalks on Cinematic View. If I look to the east, knowing how this thing's lined up, I've got a retirement home to the northeast across Jackson Creek. And then we also have that other additional apartment complex. So obviously, those are things that town's going to have to consider at a later point, not your issue at this point. My only concern with this is as I look at the cars that are coming down and they're going to make that right turn with the volume that this potentially can truly bring in, you have 22, 25 slots of parking for a Subway. The only other big game in town right here is King Soopers, a Whataburger, and a Panda Express. Obviously, this will do very well simply because of the Dairy Queen. I guess within the town, what are the mitigations in relation to traffic to manage this? I mean, the anticipation with this, just like, Commissioner had mentioned, we're going to run into a bottleneck almost here with just this property alone. Is that something, when we look at the traffic pattern to the northwest coming out of Cinematic View to that crossroad, is there a potential plan for some type of structure to mitigate traffic on those ends? And that's something down the line for us to discuss when we go into the comprehensive plan. It's not your concern. I just want to make sure for the record, we're looking at how we're managing those aspects. I think the plan is great. I think this placement of putting a Dairy Queen there with the high school, with the those that are going to the gym and shooting right over to Dairy Queen to eat a malt. Okay. It's a great plan, but I definitely approve that 100%. So thank you.
Good.
With that, there is no other questions from the commissioners. Oh, sorry, Corey. I keep forgetting you, buddy.
That's okay. I think everyone kind of addressed any questions that I had, so I don't think I have anything additional.
Thank you, sir. At this point, we're going ahead and close comments. I'm looking for a motion from any commissioner identifying the approval or denial. And from there, a second, please.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Egley. I move that we recommend to approve the final plan unit development for Jackson Creek Retail, legally described as Lot 2, Monument Marketplace North, filing number 1A and located at 16577 Cinematic View, with the following condition. 1, prior to town council review, the applicant shall submit a revised plan set to address issues identified in attachments 4 and 5 as supported by the attached finding of fact and described by the following documents. Number 1, final plan unit development site. Number 2, drainage report for Monument Marketplace North. And number 3, Monument Marketplace North, lot number 2, traffic impact study.
I second that.
Thank you. Chair Trujillo.
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Egley.
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hours.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next one is the zoning changes, our 5th case and boundary adjustments. Yeah, there you go. Our 5th case, a staff request for approval of the Town of Monument official zoning map. And with that, I leave that to the staff for.
Again, it's been a long evening. So this is something that we should be doing annually. And is making sure that our zoning map is up to date and what's published out there is, to the best of our knowledge, represents the documents, zoning, annexation, right away, and so on. Represents what we've agreed to and what we've approved over the last year. So this year we're asking you to accept this 2025 zoning map, which illustrates the changes that have occurred over the last year. As I emailed you earlier today, I showed you an example, or I provided an image of the boundary changes that we're illustrating. And those boundary changes are based on best mapping practices in GIS for GIS usage. We've been collaborating with the city of Colorado Springs. Connie, if you haven't met her yet, doing a phenomenal job making sure that the information that we're putting out using our mapping system is correct and consistent. So this map has some boundary changes. But those are changes that we believe are consistent with what previous annexations and other documentation that have been approved by the Board of Trustees and now County Council or Town Council. You can tell where I was a couple of years ago. So what I'd like you to do tonight is just I'll make a motion to accept this fantastic tool of a zoning map and forward it to council so they can accept it as well by ordinance, so that we can start using this map for the remainder of the year. I want to remind you as well that this is online. It's available to anybody. It's actually clickable. There's some really neat maps out there that you can get down into the data or the property information by clicking it. You'll get the zoning information. And then I'm hoping in the next couple of years, you're going to be able to click in and find ordinances as well. So you can start seeing history of projects. We want to build as much transparency as we can in the tools that we provide on our website. So with the work that Connie is doing and then working with our information with our administrative offices and so on, we can really start providing some live free access to information as it was meant to be.
And I want to ask one question real quickly. I just want to make sure. So the plan unit development is kind of the, I don't know, I guess the light gray, for example, south of Baptist Road. It's really not, it's kind of blending in with the rest of the background of the map. I just want to make sure that that's the right color for that I'm recognizing that correctly.
It's the correct color, but what you're noticing is something that Connie and I have already talked about. She's going to be revising some of the colors and making it clear. She's actually going to a conference with other GIS leaders in the state, and then she's going to be talking to them about that. And so, but the indication that that zoning district is on there is correct. But we can always come up with better ways to make sure that it's legible. We're also concerned, we've done, Portia up in the administrative office has done phenomenal work with her team on making sure that our website is ADA accessible. And we are trying to do that with all of our online documents to make sure that if you that the information is visible to those who have challenges.
Is there also a real quick question for you, Dan? Since 2024 to 2025 and the rezoning of this, obviously the items we spoke to tonight, Monument Marketplace, Lot 4A, 5A, Connexus Lot 2, and Terrazzo Baja Commercial Development. What other changes were significant associated with 2024?
I think the most significant was rezoning just right behind here. There was a single family or a home that was rezoned. There was a commercial business rezoned to single family for the garage. That's probably the most significant. But there's any kind of parcel or lot changes that have occurred are done on the fly. So now this printed map illustrates that. We're still going to continue to update it throughout the year, but this is our kind of just the official print of the map.
I think if there would be a header or something on there, just from 2024 to what's changed, I think that would be phenomenal. That would be a product that we could utilize coming back to our monthly meeting.
That's a great idea. I'll work with Connie to have a note on there of any significant changes from the previous year.
Perfecto. Thank you very much, sir. I make a motion for, let me get the right wording on this one. Make a motion for the request of approval for the Town of Monty official zoning map, identifying the current depiction of what the Town of Monument has zoned.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Chair Trujillo. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Or no, if you want to, we want it to be accurate. So if you draw a circle around it and give an explanation in an email, we'll go back and look at it. The good news here is this is a depiction of what we've approved. So the reality is that if anybody wants to challenge it, we're going to go back to the original documents to show what's supposed to be there.
All right. Roll call.
I'll continue the vote. Chair Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Green, Commissioner Egley,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Hours, Commissioner Hatch.
Yes.
Thank you all. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you, Ray. Next one, non-agenda public items. Do we have any at this point?
Oh, well, broken record, Dan.
Broken record, Dan. Thank you, sir.
So I promised to keep here till 10, so it's still early. We got, the pizza's not that cold. That's right. Yeah, please go eat whatever's left. So on March 3rd, we will be kicking off the comprehensive plan update. So the Lakota group will be coming to council on March 3rd. We will be introducing that week as engagement week. We've got a very aggressive schedule for the consultant team and the planning department to start reaching out to focus groups. I will send out a formal or the final schedule to all of you so that you're welcome to come to the community event or the kickoff. We're going to have an open house at the beginning of engagement week here in the planning department for staff to meet the consultant team. You're welcome to come by. I can't promise it'll be good food, but it'll be good. This is going to be a year and a half of working with this fantastic team. So they're going to be on our staff. So we want to make sure that we introduce them to that. We're going to have plenty of opportunity for you guys to interact with them over the next 16 to 18 months. And I'm hoping that the community comes out for this. One of the events that we're going to be having on Wednesday night is a community discussion. So that would be March 5th. It'll be probably either at the YMCA or one of the local schools over there. We're going to have a community discussion, a breakout session, and I hope to have hundreds of people there so we can really start talking about what the issues are. So as we move forward, we can try to address those. That's all I have, and I'll continue reporting that at every Plan Commission meeting. So just get used to it. We also kicked off our stormwater management update. Our 2006 plan needs to be updated. So we're using the same engineering firm as we are for the comprehensive planning update. They are working to update our stormwater management plan. We also are doing a development impact fee nexus study with another firm. So we're pretty darn busy. With that said, if I don't address something for you properly or we miss something, just ask. We're just kind of busy. Be prepared. You're going to get a lot of site plans or final plats and final plans coming in for both Connexus and Santa Fe Park. So thank you for tonight. Thanks for coming early.
Any other non-agenda public items from the commission?
2 items.
Please.
Sorry. I
Yes, sir.
want to get out of here. First, I know you do a great job, you and your staff, of getting us all the information down. I guess I was disappointed when I viewed the town council meeting from this last week, when they talked about the Woodmore Placer project. It wasn't brought to our attention when that project was brought in front of us that fire station was going to go at that southeast corner. Not to say that any of the voting would have gone any differently, but it seemed like perhaps the applicant could have brought that forward to us at that time. I don't know if it seemed hard for me to believe that he just found out about that between the 8th of January and the time that it was presented to the town council.
Well, first of all, it wasn't information that we were in the position of providing. The fire department we were aware of it, but we weren't aware if there was a contract or not. So we're always very careful with that. I spoke to the developer afterwards of wondering why they didn't bring it up, because that is a very important piece to it. And that's why they did bring it up at council to make sure. And also because we need to do proper planning for the road design for Jackson Creek North. I'm sorry, for Jackson Creek Parkway. Ray and I were sitting there on the edge of our seat wondering when they were going to bring that up. I went as far as actually having Chief Bradley come to that meeting at council and his bosses to make sure that the council understood that that was part of the project.
Thanks. And sorry, I'm not trying to point any fingers. In fact, I just want to say thanks to everything done. I think this the first time that I've been on the planning commission in 4 years that we've actually had a development issue brought forward to us that the planning department has not recommended our approval. So I appreciate that fact that at least we have some balance.
Well, and I appreciate that. And sometimes I mean, I'm doing that because that's what the code says. That doesn't mean that's dictating what you have to do. I just want to make sure that we are following the code and we are following the findings. Doug is online here to help me steer this new ship I'm involved with, and he's been extremely helpful. I apologize for bringing the wall to you tonight when you didn't have the authority to do that, but I just was in a position where I couldn't go anywhere, and I needed a sounding board to kind of wake them up and show them that there's a better way to do this. So I appreciate the time that you spent at your previous meeting with a different hat on, and I appreciate the work that you're doing here too.
If I could just add on to that, Dan, I don't know if you had any discretion in bringing that to the Board of Adjustment. Once the petition came in for a hearing, you have to allow it.
Thank you. That's it.
All right. Next meeting will be March 12th, 2025 at 6 p.m. March 12th. I'm reminding myself and making sure that it is on my calendar. Thank you. I need a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn. Second.
All in favor? And we are now adjourned at this time being 20:44.